you are from Italy, so people will know that your accent will maybe be slightly difficult, just like my accent. I'm from Italy too. So we are going to talk primarily about your experience, which you told me, and it's been quite painful to hear actually, and your experience about many things actually, such as abusive relationships and what in English is called gaslighting, which is a form of sophisticated, in most cases, manipulation that many people adopt and irrelevantly to males or females. So we're not going to have a gender-based
absolutely not
discussion.
It could happen. Yeah, it can happen to male and females, as we can find psychopath between males and females. So it's not the gender is not a problem of gender. It's a problem of sick mind. So I'm here just to share my experience. I hope that is going to help loads of people that are now in abusive relationship. And I'm not here to say just, oh, I'm here, like I'm the cool one and I'm the right one. I didn't make mistake. No, because everybody can make a mistake, more when we are involved in a intimate relationship with someone. But it doesn't mean that you are crazy or you have to accept some kind of behavior and some kind of insane behaviors. Well, I started this relationship many years ago. We knew when I lived overseas. He was a guy from another state of Europe, and we made we had a relationship, a light relationship, if I can say it like that. It was we were just dating, but not seriously. And we met again after 7 years, and we started a long distance relationship. And I thought I was I found the love of my life. I have been always attracted by this person. And now I know why, because they use they have a special techniques to come si dice, per captare le persone,
to catch people, to get the
attention. Yeah. That's it. They are hypnotizing you. But anyway, we will talk about it later. And they have a special technology to do that. So I thought that I finally been with the love, with the man that I always considered the love of my life. So I was living in Sicily, and he lives overseas. So we started a long distance relationship. He came here in my house for a couple of times, and in between we had normal relationship, a communication with messages and with phone calls. But I was smelling that something wasn't going really good. But I was thinking it was just for the distance. He was he is a special person, a free person, maybe with some special behavior. And I was at the beginning was also appreciated his diversity and And for me, he had like a special ascendant of me. Diego, correggimi se dico male o
Sure,
se
sure.
mi sbaglio un po'
Well,
con le parole inglese.
you're describing what I like to call it the special effects at the beginning of a relationship when
Yeah,
people try to impress.
called, yeah, that is called the love bombing. He came, like, he made me a surprise, and I came back from work and I found him after 2 months in my home. So I was really, really, really happy. But the problem at the beginning was he was really, really cool with me and making me a loads of gifts. But at the same time, the sensation that I had, it was like just I had to pay to be in relationship with him. That means that I had to make like all the efforts. It was like I had to do all the efforts to stay with him. I had to. I put myself under pressure, and he he put me under pressure to show him all the time that I was the best, that I do the best stuff in the world, in the universe. And at the beginning, you want to be, you want that your relationship works, and you want to be happy, you want to see the other person happy with you. So I've made all the effort that I could do. Then finally, when I finished my job, that I was a seasonal worker, so I joined him in his country, and we start like a relationship, like a real relationship, no? Because we were living together, and I started, but before there was like some signals as well that that were for me like a kind of alarm, and this all the time he was like. What in psychologists say like a triangulation.
Yeah.
Non so in inglese come si
Yeah,
triangulation.
it's a tactic, sort of, it's a psychological
Yeah,
tactic.
yeah, it's a psychological. So to make like feel you like insecure all the time. So he was like come si dice, instillare il dubbio.
He was inserting the doubt in your
Yeah,
mind.
the doubt was that were other person or other people, other girls. There were strange messages, or he was he was connecting on the telephone or the like WhatsApp on like in the late in the night. He received like some phone calls, and he was like walking away from me. But anyway, still I spot some pics of him where we were separated. I spot some pics of him in social media. So anyway, I decided to like, and it was all the time in this, come si dice, in this, come si dice, in questo meccanismo, no, di relazione.
The mechanism in the relationship.
Yeah, I was all the time like blaming me that I was so insecure, I was jealous, and that the wrong one was me and not him. But anyway, I've decided to go further with the relationship, so I decided to join him in his country. And we start the real relationship, but that was really, really, at the end, it was a hell. The problem started that I made the mistake that I didn't have like the courage to face him on his lies. because they make you feel like you are the wrong one all the time. So I wasn't sure that it was the reality or just something that I imagine, that it was feel from my fears. So the first one that after joining him, the first one that I've tried to talk to him and telling him that something were wrong, that maybe it was like better that I walk away and go to see some friends away, come back. He blamed me to be like crazy, that they use all the time this word that I hate right now, because crazy, that I was crazy, that something were wrong with my head, with my mind, that I need a specialist. And all the time he was like giving me all the weight of relationship by telling me all depends on you. So all the responsibility of the relationship was on me, and it's like a big charge. So I feel like more and more like under pressure in this relationship. But the game, so the question could be like, why you stayed with this guy all the time? It was something like all the stuff were like so bad, but actually it's not like that, because they do like it's like a ping pong game, like they give you something good, but at the same time give you something wrong. Or they do something bad to you, and they are like judging you for all your even if you have like come si dice, un difetto fisico,
physical imperfection or something.
Yeah, for everything, how the way you speak, the way you talk, the way you talk to the others, your choice. I don't know, like I had when we were all the time together, and we had to go to do some shops all the time together. I didn't have like a personal space, and where all the time that we went to the supermarket and I had to buy some stuff for my hair, it was like blaming me for judging me for my choices. Actually, I'm 14 years old. I'm living alone since I was 18. So I know how to choose the stuff for me. And it was all the time like, for one side, you had like a horrible, come si dice, insopportabile?
Intolerable.
Intolerable, like a paternalist attitude with me, but at the same time he was blaming me, that he is screaming at me that he was not my father. So they put basically they do like a game where you are. They try to put you in confusion, in total confusion. And but step by step, little by little, you find yourself in a real mental confusion, and actually come si dice, ti feriscono.
Yes, may I make a note about this? Actually, a couple of notes. First of all, I want to say that I know who I'm talking with. I know you. I met you a long time ago in when I was living in Bali, Indonesia. You went there. I met you in 2013. So I know who you are. You are not an unknown person to me. I know you're not, what people will categorize as a drama queen or an hysterical person, or a person that tries to blame somebody else in order to escape personal problems. So
No, no.
I think it's very important.
Actually, yeah.
You are a pretty clear person, and also with a lot of humor, and not really the kind of person that likes to play the victim. Unfortunately, many people unfortunately are, both males and females. Another note, and I would like to repeat this: we are not having a conversation that is about gender. Everybody is possible of doing what we are describing. I experienced this myself with my former relationship, and not only that. Of course, males behave in a certain way, and females behave in a different way. But the abuse is abuse, and is genderless. Doesn't matter if is undertaken by a guy or a girl. And the other thing I wanted to say as a note is that we all are more or less confused. And when a partner is somehow confused, if the other partner really cares, what the other partner will do in terms of responsibility, not just affection or love or whatever, will be trying to help the other partner to understand personal confusions in order to, via understanding all of the stuff, which is very hard, decrease a step after another, so to bring into being a very a more and more and more rational and clear and logical interpersonal relationship. When a partner instead of suggesting that, fuels even more confusion in the other person's mind, that is definitely not just a massive red flag, but also a strong indication of manipulation tactics.
Yeah, that's it. That's manipulation. That's it. So it happens to me that as I told at the beginning, I'm not the perfect one, and I know that I have my wounds that I'm carrying since my childhood, with the relationship with my father. So I'm pretty aware of what happened to me, and I know that I like some kind of confusion over myself as well. And I was talking about it with him, and what he made was at first he show up like he was show himself like a comprehensive person. It was like with me, but then he used what I told him as my partner and against me. And he was manipulating me, and it was like blaming me that I'm not able to forgive like my father, or that all that I lived in my childhood, it was just my interpretation, that nothing wasn't real. And at the beginning I was like believing him, but he brought me to more confusion with myself and with my path of completion and healing. I feel I'm not healed, but I'm still working on myself, on my thinking process, on my emotion. But you can't, as a partner, you can't dare to judge another person's behavior and manipulate it for your, come si dice, per il tuo tornaconto, no?
For your benefit, yes.
Yes, for your benefit, just to show me that I was all the time the wrong one. And he come si dice, questo come che si arrogava il diritto di poter essere la parte intelligente, diciamo, della storia.
He was taking ownership, to say this way, of the intelligent part of the relationship. He was feeling entitled of himself being the intelligent one, and you were the one that required his help. This is a very typical situation, because what is important to keep in mind is that our partner is not our psychologist or our counselor. Our partner can be an advisor, can advise us, because we all have different pasts and thinking skills. So if I see, personally speaking, that my partner, even my friend, hopefully even my family members, by the way, if I see that they are performing some mistake, they have some logical fallacies, or they have some kind of confusion, it's not that I'm better than them. I also have my own confusions eventually. But my duty is to help them. Actually, not to help, I don't quite like this term, but to assist them the best I can, to make them reason a little bit better progressively about whatever the issue is. And I expect them to do the same with me. And this is what will be the very fundamental meaning of a relationship, that is mutual understanding and progress. But when a partner wants to make the other person think that he is almost perfect, or he or she are the intelligent ones, and they are there to teach you how you what you are supposed to think, well, that is a severe problem, because it is not about what to think, it's about how to think. So
exactly
what you're describing, something very typical that is also and commonly intertwined with the psychology of the psychopaths. More the psychopaths than the sociopaths are two different things. So what you're describing is the mentality of a psychopaths.
Yeah, but you know that the alarm that I had during this relationship was like, okay, I was blaming myself all the time that I was the wrong one, but I saw some behavior about him with other people outside in society that really scared me. Like I think he's a misogynist. He hates, he hates women basically, and he was all the time like get incredible angry and against I don't know, like the women at supermarket, at the cash supermarket, for stupid stuff. Or like I saw like a scene that of him, he made like a show against with undescribable words against women. He was like klaxoning him at the parking. It was like horrible. So that was for me another like alarm on him.
Yeah, for example, I remember you told me an episode that I found particularly disturbing when you went to some shopping mall to get some supplies, and then you went to pay. Will you describe this just a moment, just to provide
I tried to describe it. So we went to the supermarket, and all the time, all the stuff had to be in a rush. And we were working together to his project, because his project was the first one, the most important in the universe. And I was like, come si dice, obbligata?
Forced somehow, obliged.
Forced to go out, even if I was dirty. I'm a woman. I always had care of me, and not just for a superficial stuff of aspect, but just I like to feel comfortable with the clean dresses and but no, I was pushed to go out in a rush all the time, in a rush. And he was judging me if I told him, if I was telling him that I am not feeling comfortable to go out all the time like a, I don't know, like a worker or like a mason, and he was like laughing at me and judging me for that. But anyway, once we were to the supermarket at 8:30 in the afternoon, so the supermarket, they were closing. So we buy a lot of stuff to eat, and we went to. I was following him all the time like a baby child, because like a child, like a baby girl, because the sensation that you have when you are in relationship with those people, you start to feeling like a really like a child. So I was behind him all the time and following him, and so we with the two like chariots, we were to the like automatic cash.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we didn't have like any bags with us to carry out all the stuff that we bought. And like there was a woman who were working there that advised us to go out and bring a chariot from outside and put our stuff in the chariot. So I went out, I went to grab the chariot, but I realized that I could not enter in the cash, where there were the cash machine, the automatic cash machine.
Yeah.
So he started to get angry with the woman, with the workers there, and he left all the, come si dice, quello che avevamo comprato dalla spesa,
the supplies.
all the supplies there. And he started, because he was angry against the system. He was, and he didn't agree with that system, and he screamed against the woman, the poor woman, and it was not just a girl, like I don't know, like around 50, 60 years old woman. And so he left all the stuff there. And then he went away, come si dice, con arrabbiato e dicendo un sacco di cattive parole.
He was upset and sort of freaking out hysterically, saying all sorts of bad things.
Freaking out. He was spitting in the supermarket. So you are not, if you don't like that system, just you don't go to the supermarket. It's like simple. Or you could like buy some bags to put your stuff in. But at the end it was my fault, because I didn't stop him, and I didn't tell him nothing. But actually I was like shocked. I didn't know what to do, what to say, nothing. And then we went to grab the car, to pick the car. And like there are like some ways that you have to do when you go to the shop mall. There are like, come si dice, dei percorsi obbligati, no? Con dei birilli.
Yeah, some specific paths through on the way out of the shopping mall that you have to go through. The lot.
Yes, but he couldn't. He was so upset that when he was driving, it was like, come si dice, ha investito i birilli, è passato su ed è andato via.
Yeah, he crashed the cones, the cones that identify the path what you have to go through. The plastic cones
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. So it crashed on them without caring. But also, the problem is that if a person wants to behave that way, there are roles. The person it doesn't matter if the person wants to be responsible or not, but the person is alone, and eventually the person will respond of it or not. But involving another person and causing this shock where you cannot even say something because particularly if you are a female, you're afraid of retaliations, repercussions, because once home, eventually this person will turn against you if you say, "What are you doing?" And so you remain silent, like a person almost as being emotionally kidnapped, and you just don't know what to do. That increases your confusion. But also you are in a state of shock where you have no certainties and no security whatsoever.
But like what happens in your brain with this kind of people is that really you get shocked, and I can tell that I've joined like a level of confusion that when I was driving, at the beginning I was the best driver in the universe, but then he started to blame me as I was driving the car, and really my level of confusion was so high that I don't know, I was driving and he was telling me like to go on the right side, so I still drive like straight away. So I don't know, it was like come si dice, stavo diventando sorda a tutto quello che lui mi diceva, non riuscivo più a connettere.
You are describing what in clinical psychology is called the brain fog. That is it's not something it's not a metaphor or something, it's true. When we are under that kind of shock and pressure, we actually lose attention. We get confused, also neurologically confused, because there is all sort of chemistry like going around in the brain. And it doesn't matter if you are a good driver, you can actually summon severe problems, because eventually you crash on something, you are numb, and your mind is clouded somehow, doesn't work properly.
Totally, but I remember that I had like some come si dice, vuoti di memoria, like time, I don't know how to say it. It was like some time missing, that I didn't remember like what happened. Absolutely, I'm not a smoker. I don't smoke joints. I don't take drugs. I drink some wine when I'm at home, but really, I'm not the kind of person that uses drugs. And so I had missing times, and and then I was like spotting that, and I was commented, like I was telling him like, I'm a little bit scared. What's going on with me? Like I'm having missing time, and don't remember the time when we went out from that shop and what happened before, what happened then. I started to have like nightmares as well, and I start to can't sleep in the night. It was so horrible, but what I want to say, I could tell you, like as you know, I told you like loads of stuff happened with this person, but my message, that what I want to say to other people who are in this situation, or who are already out from this sick relationship, but still they are paying for what happened. So I want to say that you are a victim, and you have to, come si dice, lo devi assumere che sei una vittima.
You have to come to terms with that properly. You are an actual victim, and it's not because you have to cry about it, because that is what you are. You are hurt. injured and you're a victim. It's very important. This is not. Some people are afraid to actually say this because we have been indoctrinated with this idea that we have to be strong. Well, we are none of us is strong. That is just an idea. We all are vulnerable people. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to be fragile. Some people are fragile more than other people. It's not their fault. Well, unless they fuel that. Now, when a person is an actual objective victim, and there is evidence of it, not opinions, but evidence, that person is an actual victim. Now, it doesn't mean that the person has to play that role forever, of course, but it is important to raise awareness about this. And it's not about only about females and males. Of course, females are way more abused than males. I don't dispute it. It's a fact. But there are many females that also abuse the males. What comes to mind, for example, look at what happened. I don't mean to go into gossip and nothing like that, but just because it came to mind. Look at what happened with Johnny Depp and his former partner Amber Heard. They found out there is plenty of material, like archived material and recorded material where she admits that she was the jerk and she was the abuser, and he was trying in his own way to make a reason, and then he went into alcohol and all this sort of stuff. Now, just to say this, what you are describing, particularly about the cognitive fog and brain fog, lack of memory, blind spots, all the rest of that, is very familiar to me because, just to say a little bit, my personal story, I also went through an abusive relationship that was not like yours. I've been, for pretty much 5 years, a relationship with a person that is not a sociopath, is not a psychopath. So she was a former New Age speaker, so became pretty well known. And then I met her in Bali. You also met her, and I wanted to take care of this person, trying to assist this person to make her reason in a better form, and that was an incredibly painful process that also didn't quite succeed and as I expected. The first couple of years, there was definitely some progress, but this person is what in psychology will be called histrionic personality disorder. Now, I don't mean to diagnose anybody because I'm not qualified for it, but there are indications that this person's behavior is compatible with that cognitive problem. Now, I don't want to go into details because that will be an encyclopedia. What I want to say, the manipulation there was taking place fundamentally in form of twisting what I was trying to say, the way I was trying to assist this person to make a reason, particularly twisting and what in critical thinking is known as straw man fallacy, such as, for example, a person is trying to highlight a problem, trying to discuss logically, not because that person is intelligent and knows everything, because a problem has to be highlighted, otherwise will lead to another problem, and so on. When the other person deliberately twists the conversation and in a way that is aimed at blaming you and making you look that you are the control freak or the manipulator or the jerk, intertwining also with lies, and then obviously distributing those lies to other people, particularly on social media, in order to change the perception of you the other people have, that is a form of actual objective manipulation. And it is extremely painful. So, as a very clear example of straw man fallacy, what I will say is something like this. For example, I'm talking with a person and I say, don't you think that maybe your behavior about this should be changed? So this is my argument. It's not an offense, it's just an argument and a proposal. But the other person twists that and says, why are you calling me stupid? But I never called that person stupid. I just proposed that person to consider his or her own behavior properly. And then we can discuss about it. I never called that person imbecile or stupid or you should follow what I say. That is a strawman fallacy, and when it goes on systematically, it's very painful. So, long story short, at a certain point, this person met another girl, and then sort of became more like a focus on kind of feminist values. But I don't want to go into that. The person decided to leave, went back to her own country, and after a while, this person started a process without reasons whatsoever to accusing me, based on accusing me, particularly digitally, but also sending me the most terrible emails and messages deliberately designed to hurt, with no reasons whatsoever. I never done something, I never hurt this person in every sense. And also changing systematically the perception of other people, including friends, trying to take side and telling people how jerk I am and how manipulative I am. Simultaneously, that was fantastic. Another person that was happened to be a former roommate of mine, and a terrible one because she cheated on her husband when he was also a roommate. We were living in the same house, and she was not paying rent. She was causing problems all the time. At a certain point, it became impossible to live together, and anyway, she wanted to live with the other guy. After a year, she started making a website slandering me publicly, publishing illegally screenshots of private conversations that were, by the way, proving nothing. Contacting friends and telling all sorts of things. So fundamentally, she managed to deliver this narrative. I was supposed to be a cult leader and a predator in a very nasty form. The other former partner of mine has done absolutely nothing about it. Actually, her behavior was slightly similar, despite they were not doing that together. So it was, I'm talking about 2018 fundamentally, it was so painful that I was trying to keep on going with my job and my life. Also, I was alone. I was in a new place. I had no friends, nobody to talk with. And at a certain point, I used to fall as a bag of potato on the sidewalk when I was walking because I had a brain problem or something. It was incredibly painful. Yeah. And the kind of things that really, fortunately, I'm pretty strong with that. Nevertheless, I'm vulnerable. Of course, I'm a human being. But this is the kind of things that really make people suicidal. Doesn't matter if they are males or females. Yeah, it's really terrible. Yeah. And so they took no responsibility at all. They actually kept on going on accusing and fundamentally an absolute negligence. Particularly my former partner, she went downhill with different mindsets that are very typical of what is known as histrionic personality disorder, like clinging to superficial stuff and incredibly silly stuff. So that was actually my fault because I should have let this person go when I met her on her new age path. When I met her, she was completely into her new age nonsense. And then she managed to set up a documentary completely erasing me from the story and making it look that she realized everything and she became, I don't know, a person of reason or something. So it was just, I don't mean to go further with the story because I should write a book about it. It was just, not just disturbing, but psychologically very damaging. And I think... I don't care about my personal story. I think that what is important is to raise awareness about people that go through something like this, and make them know that they are not alone. They should not remain silent. they should speak up out, and they should reason about this, because otherwise it's devastating and suicidal. And since
Yeah, but
since those people are not responsible for that, they are absolutely negligent. Then other people should be responsible for it and raise awareness about this problem. It's severe. Particularly now we have social media. It's easy to destroy a person.
yeah. But also, I'd like to suggest to the victims that to stay away, like, from positive psychology that say you have to forgive. It was on your path, because if you are in a situation like that, because you deserve it. What have you? All the, like, kind of spiritual, new age spiritual stuff, and also, like, a positive psychologist. They don't recognize, like, the person who is abused like a victim. So, and this is really, really dangerous, because also it's like the second victimization of a real victim. I don't know how to explain it, but it's really, really dangerous for a person who has been abused. You are a victim, and you need someone who recognizes it, and someone who helps you to, come si dice, superare il trauma. To heal your trauma.
Yeah. Now,
it's not your fault. Everybody make mistakes, and most in a relationship, it's normal to make mistakes, but it doesn't mean you deserve abuse.
Well,
there is like a big difference between being be wrong with someone or do something wrong and recognize it and try to fix it, then be abused or be an abuser. And that's really, really important that you find someone who can really understand, like, the mechanism of manipulation, of abuse, and really can help you to heal from your trauma.
Yeah, so I've been this is also a part of the work I'm doing, and a part of it is investigating into the matter of confusion instead of escaping from it, which is what most people do instead, and that is a terrible mistake. It's not entirely their fault. Now, when we are confused for whatever reasons, not neurological reasons, that will be probably a mental illness, but psychological reasons, our responsibility is to do the best we can to really analyze the structure of our confusion, including manipulation when it's there. The problem is we are not at all educated in these terms. There is no educational program about this whatsoever. There is no training. And what is there instead is absolutely dangerous. Now, what is known as positive psychology is not just absolute rubbish. It's dangerous because it is an escape in disguise. It doesn't provide any analytical, seriously analytical analysis, and also with the help of eventually experts, of course. But fundamentally, in the first place, a personal analysis of the structure of our psychological troubles, our confusion, our insecurities, but not to become non-confused. We all are confused. We all will remain some more or less confused. Now, it's very important to have confusion as a matter of study at school, for example. It's very important, plus all the other things. Manipulation should be another matter of study at school. It's all over the place, most of which is also legalized, like marketing is a lot about manipulation. I mean, fine. We have to make a living. Companies have to make a living. It's okay, but let's call it with a real name, not just marketing. That is manipulation. Is there to sell, to make profit. Nevertheless, it's not wrong people, what is wrong is that people are not educated to handle that properly. And it should be in education. Now, I will really go a little bit more deeper into the matter of positive psychology, and particularly the matter of New Age thinking.
Oh
Not
my God.
not necessarily the crazy one, because
Yeah,
the crazy one has ideas that are incredibly dangerous, such as the idea that everything happens for a reason, and whatever happens to you, including if you have been raped, it's your fault because
yeah, that's
you choose that through your,
yeah,
they say,
it's
through your
crazy.
soul level. It's
Yeah,
absolutely.
but it's like because I know that there are lots of people who are like they even don't understand the damage they give to other person when they say like that. But it was there was a friend of mine was telling me like you vibrated that. Sorry, I don't want to be manipulated or abused or be treated like a shit, you know. It's not about that. Actually, I was like, when I was in that relationship, I was working on myself and try to give the best of me to the other person. So I don't think I was vibrating to be manipulated, to be abused. And that's incredible. It's dangerous when you say something like that to someone who's not clear with himself or herself. And also the problem of New Age mentality is that is about forgiveness, and it's about unconditional love. And the unconditional love is not true. It's actually a lie, because love is conditional, and is conditional to like mutual respect, for example.
Of course,
So
if you love unconditionally your bank account, then why don't you give me the coordinates?
yeah, that's it. That's
Love,
it.
whatever love is, and that is should be another matter of study at school actually, because it's super vague. It's the most misunderstood human attitude ever. We don't quite know what love is. I personally even believe, and let me dare to say something absolutely controversial. I personally think that love is merely a human construct and abstraction. It doesn't quite exist. What does exist is affection, responsibility, intelligence, and that we can call it love, the combination of it, in this romantic term. But love is a very vague term. Is definitely never unconditional, because how can you possibly love your kids and being unconditional? You will allow them to go into the jungle just because you love them
Yeah,
unconditionally. Is not just terrible, it's criminal. Now, there is
yeah,
no such
that's
thing.
it.
There's no such thing as unconditional love, and nothing is unconditional. There is simply, I'm not unconditional in regard of my neighbor. I just don't know my neighbor, and therefore I don't care, and there is nothing wrong with that. Now, in the New Age thinking, and I repeat, it's not like the New Age like most people will think it is. Mainly the digital New Age, love and light, and all the crazy things, and then up to the unbelievable, like crazy ideas, also mixed with conspiracy theories. But I'm talking more about the cultural New Age, that is not necessarily about what people call spirituality, is a part of the culture that is nothing but a ramification of something that is pretty old, that is known as judeo-christian mentality, such as love your
Yeah,
enemy, try to be a good person. Now, there is nothing wrong with being a good person, but depends what we mean by that. If to be a good person means to be agreeable, and it appears that women, for example, are more agreeable than men, that is a problem. It's not a biological issue; it's a cultural imprinting. Just
Yeah.
like women are more prone to be emotional. That is not biological, it's cultural. It's not that men are less emotional, they're just not quite allowed to show their emotions because most men believe that is a sign of weakness or something. That is a cultural problem. The Judeo-Christian mentality is very complicated and has to do with what in critical thinking is known as implicit bias, which means we don't know it's there, but nevertheless it is there, and it does operate very sneakily, surreptitiously in our mind and brain. Now, for example,
Yeah.
if we try to be good people, but we don't reason about what that actually means, then we are going to be very agreeable eventually. We are going to be blind about the necessity to highlight red flags, broken logic. We are going to close an eye or two when our partner performs manipulation or twists us systematically, just like my former partner did, or tells lies, or
Yeah.
performs what is known as the Chinese whisper. In America, they call it the telephone game, like picking something I said. This happened to me so many times. I said something clearly. I wanted to repeat it clearly. I want to make sure the person listened properly, understood that properly, but then the person twisted that and then told another person that I said something I actually never ever said. And on top of that, what the person reported that I said is actually exactly the opposite of what I actually said. And so people do that because they are distracted. Some people do that because they are negligent. Some people do that on purpose. So people do that to manipulate. And some people do that, all of that, for whatever reasons. Now, all of this has to be highlighted for what it is. And if instead my partner expects me to be kind, well, I would like to be kind, but I cannot be kind when a person lacks of logic. Because, particularly if I care about that person is going to manage herself, not just me, and the other people around and the community in general. So that is not, I mean, kindness is nice, but sometimes kindness is not just not enough. It's just irrelevant. It doesn't mean we have to be jerks, but sometimes we have to be harsh. So I've been harsh, and I'm harsh with people that lack of logic and don't care even about cultivating that, not because I take pleasure from it or because I'm a jerk, but because it's the only way to go. And eventually something will break and maybe they will understand something better, and that is beneficial to them and to everybody else. I don't like it. But you know, if you are a teacher in a classroom, and your students are making a mess constantly, or they don't listen what you have to say, you cannot just be kind. It's not going to help.
No, it's not possible. No, 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 no. Absolutely not. Or like some new guru suggests just to meditate when you are in an abusive relationship with an abuser. So I don't want to deny the benefits of meditation. Of course, I practice meditation, I practice yoga, but the problem of when you suggest with come si dice, a un pubblico vasto.
When you have an audience, yes. Yes.
Yeah, with a big audience, that the problem to fix a relationship with an abuser is you have to just meditate and change yourself. It's like this man is like pointing the victim like a responsible to be a victim and to be in a relationship with an abuser. So it's dangerous.
So I think we can name we can give the name of this guru we are talking about. Is a popular internet figure that is called the Sadhguru. It's not his real name. He's an Indian person that went became one of the many digital modern gurus that are not super crazy like many other new age gurus, but are more like business minded, like Deepak Chopra will be, Eckhart Tolle will be, and many others. So he managed to build his audience and career. And I don't mean that everything he says is rubbish. Well, I don't follow much actually, but certain advice is terrible, like advising a woman. That there is a video about that. You proposed me that video. She is asking from the audience, "What can I do with an abusive situation like the one I am in?" And he proposed, "You just have to meditate." Now, this is not just silly and shallow and disturbing. It's dangerous because there are many people that will eventually believe that. Now, this guru is Indian. But what he applies is the judeo-christian mentality that is about forgiving.
And excuse me if I stop you here, but I want to remind you that at the beginning, the woman was asking him how she can deal with an abusive person, and he twisted the question, and he was blaming her, like telling her, you want to fix your partner. No, like the woman was asking him how to fix my partner. So what can I do when in an abusive relationship? How can fix it? And he was totally twisting, like the question of the woman, and that's manipulation.
Well, that what you are describing is exactly what I say. Just the problem is, and it is disturbing that most people, particularly the followers, are so blind they don't see that what this person has done there is what is known as a straw man fallacy. So very cleverly, he managed to avoid directly that person's question. He twisted the question in a way that is totally unrelated and irrelevant to the question. Because he said, you want to fix your partner. But this woman never said that. She never said, I want to change my partner. She said, what can I do with an abusive partner? It's completely different. Yeah. But he twisted that cleverly in front of an audience that obviously mainly will support him because they paid for it, by the way, in order to provide this wannabe wise advice that is spiritual and it looks like he has the wisdom. You don't necessarily have to understand the wisdom coming from a guru because he is the guru. You will understand eventually, which means never. That is a beautiful way, I'm saying this sarcastically, of course, to manipulate people without even making them know they are being manipulated. And now we have these leaders.
Him, and they support me. Sometimes I've tried to highlight something that is no logical, no sense of his speech, and I was completely, come si dice, attaccata dal suo pubblico.
You were attacked.
Yeah, but in a really, really aggressive way. And there was like a guy who hated me just because I say that I didn't agree with what he was saying. But anyway, this is also the kind of people, mostly of that people is like that are following this kind of guy, are people who who think about we have to be positive no matter what, and when you are highlighting something that it's not really clear, and come to say that is no sense. They become really aggressive against you,
Yeah.
and it's like they don't want come si dice, te lo dico in italiano perché è come se no, non vogliono che tu come si dice, alteri il loro stato vibrazionale.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So they don't they are afraid because they know if when they want to perform manipulation, they know what they are doing. They don't do that not on purpose. They do that intentionally. So they know you are confused because of them. But the goal is to make sure that you think you are confused because of you, not because of them. Now, if you are a relatively intelligent person, you will eventually come to question them. But they don't want you to reach the point after which you realize who is the manipulator. So when they detect that you are close to that line, close to that point, then they become aggressive, eventually yelling or breaking stuff or smashing things or slapping doors or whatever the situation and the person is. This is typical because they have to break you. They don't want you to see the way out. And when they see that you are approaching the way out, they will make a mess. Well, this is also an animal behavior. Certain animals do the same, but not to manipulate for other biological reasons. For example, what came to mind talking about a personal experience, talking about that not my former ex, but the other roommate that is a peculiar person. She is what people will call a spoiled brat. She pretty much she's unable to live alone. She's unable to build her own life, and she needs other people to take care of her. And when she doesn't get what she wants, she just freaks out and make a drama. Now, I remember an episode. They were living with me, her and her husband. Her husband is a very agreeable man, a pathological pleaser that is absolutely bad. Anyway, she was creating troubles, and then they decided to have a conversation with me, which I accepted because I was living with them, and I tried to particularly make a reason about that. And something was a 3 hours conversation. My bad, I believed that at the end of the conversation something was done because she appeared to be more reasonable, trying to understand maybe is also my behavior, maybe. Anyway, after that we went to the supermarket to get some food and shopping, and he was thinking about what has been said, and in the supermarket he decided to inform her that he said Diego is probably right, but it's not me being right, that is not important. What he said is that what I understood is that you are abusing me. When she heard that, she freaked out in the middle of the market, screaming, and it was an older man, and she was way younger. So it was looking like this man was some kind of perverted abuser. She deliberately screamed, yelled in the market to attract other people's attention, so to completely demolish him psychologically, which she did, because he turned into a little dog, completely red skin, embarrassed, silent, and sycophant. And then she was happy. So my 3 hours conversation was absolutely futile, because these people just the big mistake is to think we can or somebody else can change these people. They will never change. We cannot change other people's minds.
No. And what is important to highlight is that those people can't change, never. And if some of them decide to go to a psychologist because he's married, or I don't know, for X reason, it's dangerous because they can learn new way of manipulation from psychology. So it's really, really dangerous. These people, like, the only way to feel good is being away from these people and apply the contact, what in psychology call like contact zero, no contact with those people, zero, and just give them zero attention. And if you have to deal with them for X reason, you are not come si dice, sei obbligato comunque ad averci a che fare.
You have to deal with them in a way or another. Maybe because you have a family that is terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best way is there are techniques. There is one technique that is the gravestone. So it's important to even don't look at them, to stare them at the eyes, because they can hypnotize you. It's like something that they can do it like naturally, but it's really, really important. Keep like a big distance.
You know what? The problem is that these people usually are not very stupid people. They do stupid things, they say stupid things, they behave stupidly here and there, but they are not really dumb, idiotic people. They are relatively intelligent, and that is a problem. Now, it is true that, with all due respect, but I'm afraid to say, and there is plenty of evidence about it, psychotherapy doesn't only work with these people, but actually makes things worse. And I remember myself, my personal experience, this former roommate I was talking about, she in the past was also a client. She had the sessions with me with what I'm doing that I don't want to go into it now. People can check the website, and it's fundamentally about refining the way we think through not positive psychology, but through scientific methodologies, including critical thinking, metacognition, and multilogicality and other things. So she wanted to have sessions with me, and she paid, I have to say, most of those sessions. I have done many sessions for free just to assist help her. Also because maybe she realized that she went through 30 different psychologists in the US, she's from the US, and nothing really worked. So she wanted to give it a try, but at a certain point, I remember this absolutely well, she asked me a very odd question, and the question was, do you think that what you are doing can also be used to manipulate people? And I had a long moment of silence, and then I asked her, why are you even asking me this question? Because is this what you intend to do? Which she did, indeed. So shame on me. Shame on me, really shame on me. I take my responsibility, it's my fault that I decided to give them my advice, my expertise, my whatever that is, my help and my sessions, my work, and that was the result. And same happened with my former ex, because I tried to really make her think seriously about not only her own crazy New Age beliefs when I met her, and she had no evidence, indication whatsoever of any kind of willingness to think about it. But not only that, also the dangers of it, because well, the way she also looking at the trailer of her documentary, it makes it look like it's almost something funny. It's not funny. We know that some people kill themselves because of they were following her, and because of her advices, they killed themselves. And we know certainly 3 of them, but who knows how many others. It's serious, really. But not to mention, people end up in mental institutions because of that. We know a guy who was a follower. He he went delusional. He jumped from the roof because he believed that he wanted to prove that I don't know, he had high vibrations, and he believed that Jim Morrison was talking with him. He broke his spine in three areas. He was a
Oh my God.
he was a 20 years old guy, and then he ended up in the psychiatric hospital for a while. And so these things are serious. It's a psychological virus that can actually kill people, actually more than the pandemic virus that is happening right now. It's not a joke.
Yeah.
It's very
No,
serious.
they are like virus. You know, I'm still healing from this sick relationship, and I've been recently. I visited the place, the village, the town where we met, and where we have like people in common, some like friends in common. And I'm still like in a healing process, and I'm still like blaming myself sometimes for what happened, and I telling myself that I could maybe I've made this or that wrong. But when I went in that place and I met some common friends, they told me that. There was always an abuser, and they told me that about an ex girlfriend of him, that it was mostly like killing herself. She was totally destroyed.
Wow.
And so this person is really an abuser, and the place where we met is a small place, it's a small village. So all the people know themselves, and he well known like an abuser. But there is like a community of people that are like yoga master, and they do yoga. They are yoga teachers, and they think he has a big light inside. So it's really, really dangerous to be like in a relationship with this person, whatever the relationship is, because it is difficult to spot the real personality that is sick, that's insane. And it was crazy for me.
You know, the problem is that denial is the most predictable of the human reactions. So, and what I mean by this, even people are not completely fooled by positive psychology, spirituality, judeo-christian, love your enemy mentality, trying to be good at every cost and all that rubbish. It doesn't mean we have to be bad people. We have to be rational people, logical people, and sober and clear. That is not the opposite of being good people. Is the refinement of being good people. It's not the opposite. Now, when people are relatively intelligent, even when they see sort of something off, red flags, something not quite good, not quite nice, they tend to either deny that or ignore it. And why? Because we have this nasty conditioning about just wait a while, the person will change, love is the answer, things will get better. They will never get better, and love is definitely not the answer. Logic is the answer in most cases, not love. Love can wait.
Exactly.
Without logic, there can be love, and that love without logic is going to inevitably end up in a mess, more or less. That is a mathematical equation that unfortunately is a part of our human experience. Now, there is no cure for these people. There is no cure.
No.
Psychotherapy is not a cure. Critical thinking is not a cure. It's actually, unfortunately, a lost cause, because critical thinking, which is absolutely important, but we have plenty of evidence to suggest it doesn't work in terms of application. So also my job is that my work is that, okay, what can we do with providing something not to the abusers. I don't care about that, will never help, but to the people that are conditioned by stupid narratives, to help them to refine their thinking skills, and with that will come also prevention. That will be not a cure, but a refinement, and will be definitely something important. But we have to start from education, not just like a podcast like this, which is better than nothing. So what I'm working on, by the way, aside the sessions I'm doing and all this stuff, I'm also working with psychologists and policymakers and academia in order to propose programs that are to be applied in the field of education. So eventually something can happen. But I have a personal idea that sounds a little bit cruel, but let me say this. I really hope that future AI development, that technology, will provide us in the future the possibility to interface the human brain with a machine in a way that these people, as a punishment, as a legal punishment, can be able to experience, at least for a minute, the pain they inflicted to other people, their victims. So I think that if this is not invasive, they're not going to die or injured or something. If these people are forced through computer-brain interfacing in the future to experience the pain that the other people felt, their victims, for at least just a minute, maybe that will do something good. Maybe. Well, this is science fiction so far, but, and I repeat, I don't mean to be cruel or something, but I really hope.
No. It's like, no, I don't know. I know what you mean. The problem is that these people, they don't have like feelings. They will never feel guilty for what they have done. So even if they are experiencing like a situation like a victim, maybe they don't care. Maybe they could get really angry or upset, but I don't think they could become aware of the suffering and the pain they provide to their victim. That's the problem, because I think like in life you meet loads of people, so maybe those people can meet someone like abusive as well, but there is no relationship. They can't have a relationship between another abuser with another psychopath or narcissist or whatever we can call them, because it's impossible. They lack of empathy, so they can't. I think that the big punishment that society can give to this person, these people, is to, first of all, we have to be aware of the techniques of manipulations, and then to leave them alone, but totally alone. Just loneliness, I think, because they need others. They can't be alone. They need others just to provide like some kind of food for
vampires need blood to survive. So they actually they really operate like viruses in a human form, in a psychological and sociological form. They need people in order to get the food they need to fulfill their manipulation techniques. Now, I lived in Bali in India for years, but particularly Bali in Indonesia is a mecca for New Age people, and particularly after the movie Eat, Pray and Love. So I lived in Bali for 5 years. So I saw many situations like this: males and females, sociopaths or psychopaths or both, targeting gullible, broken up, messed up and fragile, particularly Western people, going to Bali to find whatever, some enlightenment, some healing, some soulmate, and whatever. And those people deliberately target these people because there is easy. It's like fishing super easily in Bali,
Yeah.
and many people end up terribly this destroyed. I heard all sorts of stories. Also, financial problems. People have lost everything because they've been abused and manipulated. People end up
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
mental institutions in Indonesia, and crazy stuff like that, or completely insane. So it is a social problem that should not be kept as a taboo. And what is relevant is that many victims are afraid to speak out because they're afraid of being attacked or being mocked or not believed, or they don't
Yeah.
want to cause troubles, or they are delusional because they believe that the abusers will magically cease to be abusers in the future. That will never happen. Never. Never.
No.
Ever.
No.
It's a mathematical certainty. So I think it's very important to raise awareness about that without using any kind of silly positive thinking rhetoric whatsoever that is dangerous. But being very clear about this and also promoting what can be done to decrease this problem. Now, the best approach is that we cannot minimize this problem in terms of helping abusers. It's not going to happen. But we can maximize the way we think for the better in a critical form. So at least people can be more and more able to spot who is who, and
Yeah.
particularly on dating websites, which is a terrible way to meet
We are
people.
full of these people, these sick people looking for someone to parasite. That's it. Like the apps for meeting, they are like really a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, that also maybe another time, but it would be also nice to describe the process, the sickness you experienced just like a virus, because you told me that you had a phase where you sort of believed that there was something wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
Something
Yeah,
along those
yeah. Yes,
lines,
totally.
which is typical, but is perceived very subjectively. And then, of course, if you have the abuser around, the abuser will detect it and he will love it. He will feed it
Yes.
because the abuser
Yes.
is also
Yep.
your savior.
Yeah, that's it. But normally they look for people who are like in a state of come si dice, non di debolezza, ma di fragilità, in a state of
Fragility.
fragility.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because they're easy. It's easier to manipulate. No, a person, I don't know, someone who's just came in the town is just moved like in the town, or like someone else who is just is coming from a divorce, or someone like who has already his or her wound from childhood and is trying to fix it. They are looking for this kind of people because it's easier to manipulate, and it's easy that you make feel the other person like responsible if the relationship goes wrong. So yeah.
Yeah. So, what would you personally say about what can be done from your viewpoint what can be conveyed better to say to the people that are currently experiencing something like this, and maybe they will hopefully hear this conversation, and they will eventually hopefully manage to do something to handle the situation. Definitely not meditate. So what would you suggest to them?
I'm telling you for a joke, like just meditate, but no, definitely no. You can meditate as you can do spinning, or as you go to the gym, as you do sport. It's a healthy meditation. It's a healthy, like something healthy that you can use, you can do for you. But it's definitely is not the way to fix your problem. First of all, you have to recognize that you are a victim, and then there's nothing wrong to be a victim. Just recognize it, and even if you are a person who makes mistakes, and it's normal, or everybody makes mistakes, you don't deserve to be manipulated, to be abused, to be treated like the last piece of shit in the universe. That's it. And try to find like even if a really good friend, or it could be better like a good small group of people who support you and who believe you, and then try to walk away the faster from this person and quit the relationship, even if I understand that it's really painful, but you deserve it. You deserve better. It's better to be alone. It's better to be yourself and find yourself as a healthy person with a healthy mind, a healthy spirit, and stay away from people or inclusive psychologists who are telling you that it depends on you, it depends on because somehow you deserve it, you create it. No, stay away. Don't accept this kind of advices, because it is make like a re-victimization, and is charging you of more pain, and it's not about you. You are a victim, and a victim is a victim, and it's not about the victim. Even if the person is the worst person in the world, he or she doesn't deserve to be abused and gaslighted or triangulated or whatever are the mechanism of this kind of relationship, of sick and insane relationship. It's better, really it's better now I'm in isolation and quarantine as well. I am really enjoyed to be alone with myself, and I think that I deserve it, to stay with me in peace and like in I don't know how to say, but I feel like I'm rebuilding myself, and it's worth it than to be with someone who is abusive with you because you are scared to be alone, to miss him or her. It's normal to miss them anyway, even if they were abusive with you and they hurt you. It's normal to miss them, but you need time. You need to be clear with yourself and try to find some help to make it clear inside you. Yeah. It's difficult. I had to make like a list of all the shit that I received from this person. I made like I've written all the abuse that I received from this person. That sometimes was physical as well. I can say that he never beat me, but he was a little bit abuser, like physically. A little bit, I could feel like violence, also in intimacy. I had never like some kind of tenderness from him. It was at the beginning, but like it was in the face of, in the part of love bombing. So that's normal.
So I think what you're saying is certainly a good advice to all the other people that experienced or are experiencing something like that, and particularly right now that we are experiencing this lockdown, quarantine, whatever, and it's a time where we have a lot of time. We have time to be alone.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we are not locked in a house with an abuser, and many people unfortunately are experiencing this terrible situation. But when we are not, this is a good time to cultivate something we never had. That is what I call a loneliness. Not being lonely, but being alone with ourselves. Not to meditate or to cling to some spiritual nonsense, but to really contemplate and analyze what happened in our life, our current state of mind, and investing this time we have, another 2 months probably, hopefully less, I don't think so, in order to really invest psychologically in what can be done to refine our thinking skills. And what you described is beautiful. Most people don't do that because it's painful and counterintuitive. Most people don't go through the past by developing a mind map or sort of something like this. It's better a mind map than listing, remembering what happened, despite the painful aspect that involves, because it's very painful. I've done this myself. I've done an actual mind map about what happened to me in my former relationship, trying to remember carefully the memories, my database, my files, my details, and also the physical evidence I got, like the nasty emails, nasty messages, and all the rest of that. So the purpose of this is to actually be a detective, your own psychological detective. This is what a detective. This is what a detective will do. A particular good one, like Sherlock Holmes, analyze, connecting the dots, trying to be very not inductive but deductive. Like you probably remember Lieutenant Colombo, Peter Falk.
Yeah.
Trying to not to take things for granted, not to cling to conclusions. Oh my gosh, I'm the victim. Maybe you are, but just to analyze the different passages, the episodes, the elements, putting that together as a network is very painful. I know it. Most people want to just forget it. But then what happens? They jump into another situation that is analogous. Or they get they become depressed. Well, if you want to heal, using that term that I don't quite like, is a little bit new agey, but it's fine, it's just a vocabulary. If we want to heal, just be the detective of your own psychology and past. And now is a wonderful time to invest in it. So this is also my advice. I think it's very important. And it's not just about abusive situations, it's about everything. Because, yes, we are confused, we have information overload every day. We never had so much information like we have today, in every sense, not just internet, everything. And that is a good time to invest in clarity, bring about clarity about it. And eventually, while this crisis will come to an end, instead of facing another crisis that will happen, and will be a psychological and financial crisis, that will happen, unfortunately, but at least personally, we will emerge in a different way. And that is very, very valuable and healthy and refreshing. I think it's
that's true. That's true. For me, from my experience, I made like a list of his abuse, but actually it was like also a mirror for me that why like I've like I made the mistake to be in this relationship. It was like not just for blaming me, but why I didn't like spot the red lights and why I didn't go away. But it's like a big work that I making with myself. I don't know if one day I will definitely out from this, but it's for sure it's a good way to like to see yourself and your mental mechanism and your mental technology when you find yourself in situation like that it's still not blaming you yourself for what you've done because you still remain a victim, but it's a way to analyze and, as you said, to be the like a detective of yourself or your thoughts, because we are the most important person to ourselves first of all, and that's what I'm learning from this experience. And it's not like to be, as you said, like a good person for the other. It's first of all to be a good person for yourself and stay healthy and stay sane in your mind. I don't know if I non so se mi esprimo, se esprimo
Yeah, you
bene il
got. Yeah,
concetto.
yeah, yeah. It's very clear. It's very clear your concept, and it's super helpful. And actually, thank you for that. I think it's very. I'm actually going to propose this call when you will edit it to a friend of mine that she's in Florida. She's working with abusive relationships to prevent fundamentally to prevent the kids from entering throughout the adult age into what we just described, and that is absolutely good. I'm trying to help this person to correct her thinking a little bit because she's a little bit into kindness and not too much, but that has to go. Kindness is nice, but should never be the priority. Kindness should wait. When everything is clarified,
Yeah.
we are logical, we are clear, we are sober, then we can be kind, and there is no problem at all about it. It's just wonderful. But that can wait. That can wait. There is a crisis we have to face in the first place. It's not just the coronavirus crisis. It's the crisis of the human consciousness. That is the top one.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And that
Yeah, yeah, we are
is good.
seeing what's happening in the world with this coronavirus crisis that is highlighting the poor condition, the poor human condition, the mental human condition. That it's really, for me, it's more. I'm more worried about the society after this crisis than this virus. Really, maybe. I don't know, I don't want to be cruel, I don't want to be like superficial about the problem. I'm not denying the virus or everything, but I'm more worried about the society and the world where we will live in a while.
Oh,
I don't know, let's see.
Well, the virus, I mean, I'm not personally, I'm not really super concerned about the virus, despite it is a problem. Of course, I don't deny that, and we should take it for what it is. But what I'm more concerned about is how, because of this crisis, the problem of human stupidity is emerging so clearly, but not to most people. Now it's like when you have a lake and everything looks in order. What happens when you throw a stone that hits the bottom of the lake? It makes a mess. You see all the dirty rubbish emerging on the surface, and this is what is happening right now. So again, instead of getting depressed, this is a wonderful opportunity, well, to keep our humor on, of course, that is very important, but to also analyze critically the level of human stupidity and how it is. We are, in some way, we civilized ourselves, but our psychology is still the same psychology we had a little bit after we moved out of the caves. We are wild and stupid, and also so saturated of all sorts of stupid information of all types. Well, on social media, so the most crazy things like people praying together to cure the virus in a mega church, stuff like that. We all saw this nonsense. It's wow. Anyway, this is a good opportunity to invest in it, and hopefully something new will happen right after the end of this crisis. We will see. We will see. I will invest on it.